If you got a sheriff's badge lying around, Costilla County has the opportunity for you. The county needs deputies ASAP after half the department gets indicted on criminal charges.
This is not anything that I wish on my worst enemy.
A new state law will require social media companies to comply quickly with criminal investigations. Some lawmakers say that's not enough to prevent threats before they happen.
This is about saving lives. This is about protecting kids in schools.
The Department of Energy is ordering a Colorado coal plant to keep limping along against the will of the plant's owners. And a nonprofit in Denver is trying a new model to keep youth off the streets.
I'm really glad I made this decision.
It's been a while, but I'm the captain now, at least tonight on Next. Half of a southern Colorado county's law enforcement stopped being law enforcement just like that. 5 current and former members of Costilla County Sheriff's Office, including the sheriff and undersheriff, were indicted last week. The sheriff has resigned. The deputies are on administrative leave. And today, the county held an emergency meeting to figure out how residents will be protected. How do you provide safety for a county that just lost half its sheriff's office, including the sheriff and undersheriff?
This is not anything that I wish on my worst enemy.
This emergency county commissioners meeting in Costilla County was to appoint a new sheriff. The old one, Democrat Danny Sanchez, resigned last week after being indicted by Republican District Attorney Ann Kelly. As Next reported in August, she had put his office on notice for lack of trust, bad practices around evidence collection, and long delays in writing incident reports.
We have been immediately in touch with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the Attorney General's office, as well as Colorado State Patrol. They have all expressed willingness to assist Costilla County.
A grand jury indicted now former Sheriff Sanchez, Undersheriff Cruz Soto, a sergeant and a deputy, as well as a former deputy. The sheriff and former deputy are accused of abuse of a corpse and misconduct. They're accused of responding to a call about a skull, dental work, and other human remains at someone's home. The indictment says the sheriff did not notify the coroner. The skull was later found in an unsealed paper grocery bag with no markings of when, where, and why it was collected, and the dental work was missing. The other deputies were indicted for assault during a mental health crisis call, for using a taser on someone who had been told they were free to leave and was not resisting.
It was chaotic.
County Administrator Ben Dune does not oversee the sheriff's office, but had to help commissioners figure out who the next sheriff would be.
There's a lot of people around the state and in the local area that are willing to help until we can get fully staffed.
At today's meeting, commissioners selected current sheriff's office employee Joe Smith as sheriff until the November election when voters select a new one.
That's probably the number one thing on the new sheriff's mind is, all right, how do I start staffing my office?
Do you have any concerns if we were to appoint you to that position?
My only concerns is
That's a loaded question.
as long as I can fill staff positions that we do need for the safety of the county.
Costilla County is one of the poorest in the state. County Administrator Ben Dune tells me all rural counties that are not resort-driven struggle to hire staff. He says the county has increased deputy pay recently, but to be a deputy, you need to be post-certified and want to live in and around San Luis, Blanca, and Fort Garland. The state of Colorado just made it illegal for social media companies to ignore or delay police warrants. But even with the bill signed today, some lawmakers say the new rules don't go far enough, particularly in light of what happened at Evergreen High School. Here's Mark Salinger.
The governor's office was packed today.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us.
As Democrat Jared Polis stood in front of families who fought for social media companies to provide more information faster to help solve crimes.
It's everything from helping to track down stolen bikes and cars to helping protect the lives of Coloradans from dangerous drugs.
The new law requires websites and platforms to acknowledge search warrants from Colorado law enforcement within 8 hours, and they must comply with that warrant within 72 hours. They're also required to have a point of contact 24/7 for police to reach out to. Right now, investigators say warrants are increasingly being ignored or delayed by social media companies.
I don't know of another instance where somebody could knock on your door, give you a warrant, and you could say, I'll get to it when I get to it. That privilege does not exist for anybody else in our society.
Democrats and Republicans both support it.
These social media companies will now be held accountable and have to respond in a timely manner, just like anyone else.
But some lawmakers say it doesn't go far enough.
House Bill 1255 was born out of the Evergreen High School shooting.
Democratic Representative Tammy Story stood at a press conference outside Evergreen High School last month and unveiled a similar bill. But hers goes one step further, requiring social media companies to report online threats.
So the duty to report element has to do with social media companies when they take adverse action against a user because of imminent threat, that they have a duty to report to local law enforcement about that post.
The future of Representative Story's bill that's supported by Evergreen High School families is still very much uncertain. The governor's office just sent us a new statement. It says in part that it would unrealistically demand social media companies to act as a proxy for government surveillance, going on to say that it would violate the Constitution. Obviously, the governor's office does not support that other bill.
I guess when you hear that, you know how your bill is going to go. It's not unusual to have competing bills end up filtering through the process. How do these both compare or conflict with what happened in Evergreen?
So eventually there's a reconciliation process if they both pass to see how they are similar, but the bills are supported by different groups of people. So the one that was signed today by the governor's office, there were a lot of parents and families of children who were victims of crimes and lost their lives on social media. This other bill supported by Representative Story, that's all supported by the Evergreen High School families and the victims of the school shooting there.
But not the governor.
Clearly not the governor, at least not at this point.
Apparently that's the most important thing you need.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Mark. The head of Colorado's Medicaid program is out, with perhaps a push from Colorado Democrats in the state Senate who are preparing to take a vote of no confidence in her leadership. Kim Bimsteffer will leave her role as director of Colorado's Healthcare Policy and Financing Department a week from Friday. She's led the department since her boss, Democratic Governor Jared Polis, took office in 2018. During that time, she's overseen a ballooning Medicaid budget and several controversies, like improper billing for Medicaid transport that costs the state billions, and a federal audit into questionable billing practices by some autism service providers. Democrats in the state Senate drafted a resolution declaring they did not have confidence in Bimsteffer's leadership and asked Polis to remove her from her position. 27 of the state's 35 members had signed on before Bimsteffer abruptly announced her departure today.
It's about the legislature saying, no matter the letter next to your name or who you are, we're not going to stand by, when these things happen, when mismanagement happens and the people of Colorado are harmed from that. And so, happy to see that this change is coming. And I think it's going to, give us the opportunity to really start figuring out how to make sure that program and Medicaid is sustainable.
The department would not comment on the Senate resolution, but in a statement announcing her departure, Bimsteffer said the department is facing a, quote, incredibly difficult chapter with challenging terrain ahead. In announcing Bimsteffer's departure, Democratic Governor Jared Polis did not say if she quit or was fired. And when we asked specifically, his office did not tell us if she quit or was fired. Following the accusations that Cesar Chavez was a sexual abuser, lawmakers at the state capitol moved fast. Within 48 hours, they introduced a bill to rename Cesar Chavez Day to Farm Workers Day. Today, it passed its final vote. Our Angeline McCall spoke with lawmakers about what kind of message they hope this sends to survivors of sexual assault.
At the state capitol, legislators want to take back power from a man accused of taking advantage of his.
I hope that survivors and victims see the swift action we took based on the calls we've received and that they feel heard.
Legislators like Democratic Representative Lorena Garcia knew they had to take action before Tuesday on what would have been Cesar Chavez Day, a man accused now of sexual assault.
The contributions that this man had on the farm worker movement still exist, but what doesn't exist is the reverence and the desire that we need to uphold an individual for the actions of the many.
The bill will rename March 31st instead to Farm Workers Day.
That is my hope in starting a new tradition when we talk about farm workers.
Democratic Representative Monica Duran has worked on bills about survivors before. She knows the experience.
We are no longer going to be silenced for injustice when it comes to sexual assault, when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to rape or anything like that.
Her family marched with Chavez.
It was a big deal and we looked up to him.
The allegations started with shock. Now some want to move toward healing.
Personally, I drove the 250 miles because I am a mother of 4 daughters.
Across Denver, community gathered Monday.
History is not written in stone. It is written by us.
Today we stand at a defining moment. So for those who want to come on the side of the peace, we're here. This is where the peace and the healing is going to take place.
Healing will take time. Part of a name change, they hope, is a step forward.
We've lost sight of the original reason why farm workers needed the protection and the support and the organizing in the first place.
While in the Senate, the bill did receive additional amendments. This name change will only be in effect for 2 years due to those changes, something that the sponsors criticize, saying that there's no real format in place for them to really look at or change it in 2 years. And so it's going to be a very proactive process next year if they want to keep this name place continued. Marshall?
At the minimum, let this be clear that lawmakers can work fast if they want to. Thank you, Angeline. We want to add some clarity to a story we ran last week regarding Ballot Initiative 109, which would require student athletes in Colorado to compete on teams that match their sex assigned at birth, not their gender identity. One of the people we interviewed for that story was rugby coach Kurt Weaver, who is against the initiative. It should have been disclosed, and our team was unaware that Weaver also leads an advocacy group called You Can Play, which supports the inclusion of young LGBTQ athletes. We should have mentioned that and apologize for the oversight in our original report. For the past 303 weeks, 303 y'all, your Word of Thanks microgiving donations have helped our neighbors in need, $5 at a time. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's effort to share the joy of soccer with immigrant and refugee children.
Thanks for being with Next while I'm away, and please pardon the camera angle. The kid is the videographer today. Thank you for what you did for Soccer Without Borders last week. Your 303rd Word of Thanks microgiving campaign raised about $55,000 for that organization that brings soccer programs along with English lesson skills and community building to refugee and immigrant communities in Weld County, Aurora, and in Denver's northern suburbs. Your Word of Thanks microgiving has raised $18 million for nonprofits across Colorado. We're going to figure out a way to keep this going, so keep sending ideas to next@9news.com of nonprofits that have earned your respect. And I'll see you soon.
The operators of a coal plant in northwest Colorado want to shut it down. The Trump administration won't let them.
When I first got here, I was pretty scared, I didn't know how it was going to be.
And a nonprofit is giving some of Denver's most vulnerable youth a second chance. They say the data shows their efforts are working. Next. Imagine working at a job where you're uncertain if the place is going to close or not. Coal plant workers in northwest Colorado keep getting told to stay longer than originally planned. The Department of Energy is extending an emergency order to keep a coal power plant in Craig against the wishes of state regulators and the plant's owners. The Moffat County power plant was scheduled to shut down for good at the end of last year, but on the eve of its closure, the Energy Department issued an emergency order requiring it to stick around through at least June. The plant's owners say continuing operations could cost customers since the plant recently suffered a mechanical failure and needs costly repairs. And we're talking about air conditioning weather still in March, about to be April. I want the heat on at least one more time, Crispy.
At least we're getting out of this summer-like stuff and into more typical spring weather. We're going to flip the pattern, but today, day number 8 so far this month at or above 80 degrees. That is not only by far the most March days in terms of 80-degree temperatures on record for us in Denver, that also would tie the April record for most 80-degree days in a single month. So wild stuff, but temperatures way above average. Again, I know, but we're starting to change things up. We have a winter weather advisory for the high country, as much as a foot of snow between now and also Wednesday night. This will kick up tomorrow morning with that snow, and that snow will really be most intense on Wednesday morning as that snow moves in from the west. Cold front will move through the Denver area after midnight tonight. Rain showers, best chance will be south and west of Denver, and we'll see that snow heavy at times in the mountains tomorrow night, and especially for Wednesday, and that snow dissipates for one day on Thursday before perhaps some more snow again for the mountains on Friday and into Saturday, especially our northern mountains. And in Denver, we'll have a chance to go from rain to snow for us for Friday night into Saturday morning. We'll clear up just in time for Easter weekend.
A record 63,004 watched women's soccer kick off in Colorado. Denver Summit FC crushed the National Women's Soccer League attendance record on Saturday. The game was 0-0, so all the more reason to keep going to the games at Dick's to see the team's first goal. Next home game, April 25th. And guess what? The defending 5A state high school girls soccer champs have a game that day too. On Friday, we talked with the captains of Fossil Ridge Girls Soccer in Fort Collins. The defending high school champs could not watch Denver Summit FC because they had their own game at noon Saturday. This one, however, their game had 4 goals, and now you're seeing some of them. Congrats to Jordan, Mia, and 2 different Maddies for scoring and winning 4-1 over Cherry Creek. While Fossil Ridge plays April 25th, the same day as Denver Summit FC's next home game, Fossil Ridge plays at noon. Denver Summit plays at night. So, if I were a brand new women's soccer team in Denver, I might invite the defending 5A state champs after they play earlier in the day. A nonprofit in Denver has set up a one-stop shop to help youth get out of homelessness, that is. It's a new model, and they say it's working. Next. A local nonprofit is trying to change the trajectory for young people experiencing homelessness, and their first-year results are already drawing national attention. Our Byron Reed has the story.
I wasn't expecting, Solutions don't always come easy.
When I first got here, I was pretty scared, I didn't know how it was going to be.
For Chris Golden, getting help was a difficult first step.
When you're homeless, you need somewhere, right? Originally, it was looking like Denver Rescue Mission, but there's a lot of places out there that seem scary.
Golden is a youth client at Urban Peak in Denver, a nonprofit that provides services like housing, education, and employment support to youth experiencing homelessness.
When I got here and started getting with the program, I started doing things that I need to do for myself.
Their new campus called The Mothership provides comprehensive support under one roof. Urban Peak says the goal is to reduce delays, remove barriers, and meet young people where they are.
It's efficiency and efficacy, and we've sort of found this marriage that's really extraordinary.
Christina Carlson is the CEO of the nonprofit. She says data shows their model is working.
We worked with an external evaluator to look at the work we were doing. Youth are moving to positive permanent outcomes 3 times faster than they were before the mothership. The average amount of time that people are spending to get to those positive outcomes is 30 days.
The data also shows Urban Peak's new model is also cost effective.
We're spending about $7,000 per unduplicated youth per year. A chronically homeless adult costs on average somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000. A youth in the juvenile justice system costs $100,000 or more a year.
Honestly, I don't know what solution I was looking for when I first got here. Am I glad that this is a solution? Yeah, I am.
For clients like Chris, the new space is on a fast track to building positive outcomes for the future.
I do it 1,000 times over and over just to be able to relive these moments.
For Next,
I'm really glad I made this decision.
I'm Byron Reed.
Feedback on Kyle's videographer and my declaring myself captain.
Yes.
Is it good or bad?
It's great.
Thank you, Mary.
Talented little lady.
I don't know if you realize this, but I shoot a lot of what I report on Next. This feedback from Shirley about videography. Child videographer did a great job in Kyle's report. That is excellent feedback. And then a text saying, me declaring myself captain, hurry back Kyle. I think I'm reading that wrong, but we'll see you next time.